right, hey guys. So we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive here. I just did that little quickie update on this on Twitter, but I think to warrants maybe a closer look. So there's a few things here that are worth noting. So, boy, wouldn't it be interesting if Ripple led us out of crypto winter? Somewhat surprising. So we're working on the premise that we have a significant double bottom down here, right? And this pump move here corrected by the 3, right? We went through this about a week ago here. So this looks like a fairly solid 2 here. So we can see there's a little structure here, seems to have been in play. And of course, as I was just showing, if we've got this correctly identified, if that is the 1, and we've come to, well, all we did was just tag the 50, right? So it's just perfect algo play. So if you're in this, and I am in this. If you're in this and you're long, well, there's no reason not to tighten your stop up, because the premise is that this is the pivot. If it breaks down and we're going to come down to the 618, I'd rather just get out here to take whatever it'd be essentially a scratch. I'd rather get out here and then consider a reload down here. I'm going to have to reconsider the count. Now, if it's a 2, so we can use, since this is the length of the 1. First assumption we have to allow for is that we can dig a 3 out of this, so that we can get a 3, 3, 5. Well, it's, this Bitcoin to Ripple is, boy, it's really ugly the way it moves. The swing separation is not great here, so you have to look at it on these longer time frames here to get some sense of what we're doing, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. But let's think about where we could be going. Well, if this is the 2 is solid here, we know the negative 100 will be shorthand for the 1618. So if we're going to get a true third here, well, we're just putting in the 1 potentially. 1, 2, 3. Well, this could be the 1 of the 1. It's hard to say just yet here. So of course, first thing we have to do, we got to get through this set of median lines here that seem to be, even though wasn't a to the tick tag. More than likely, here's algo just wants to get a fill here, so they it's damn near to the tick, and then you get the reaction. So that's not random. Only software is likely to be able to do that. So you got to step back and say, okay, where could I be wrong? Could I be wrong? Well, it is tempting to want to think that because of the size of this here was somewhat technical, that maybe I've got it identified incorrectly, that this was the 3, this is the 4, and this is the 5. I don't think that works as well because of this particular section right here. So if we dig into that a little bit more, let's see, let's go down to a 30-minute. So this is what I was talking about. So this, right, how do you get subdivision out of that? It just tends to be, if you look, even if you get down to 15 minutes, even worse. It's just, this is just hard to see a swing relationship there. But this bit here, so look, you get these wicked wicks. So down here we go for this crazy sell-off that's immediately rejected. This looks more like, you got to get down in here and to get to this. So this looks like I can get an A. Here's the little ABC for the B, and good luck with that. So, some sort of a diagonal, you got to dig out of that. It just the larger swing structure looks much more like a 3 here, like we've just done an ABC. That's why I lean into the idea that that's an expanded flat. And I think the subdivision over here plays just as well. If I can get it over here. See if I can scrunch up a little bit more. So you could, so 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's a 30-minute. How are you going to get 5 legs out of that? You can't. But you can get enough. The pivot swing relationship is fairly solid here. That's got to be your 2. So this is not crazy here. So if this is the 1, this is the 2. All right, so here's our 3. We don't quite make this. Where else? There's no other place to make that work. So this is, if we can get an A, B, and again, same problem. How are you going to get the subdivision out of that C? You can't. But you can get 5 here. You can get 3 here. And then you just got to allow for the spike. It overlaps the 1, so we know we're in a diagonal. And then as we finish here, this looks more like a 3-wave structure, like we've done an ABC to get up to that, to complete the leading diagonal. It just, this looks like A, B. Now you can definitely get 5 in that, but it looks like you could go A, B, C to get your 3 in here. A, B, C for the 4. I think that's higher probability. So now we're working through the history just to see, is there an alternate that we're not considering? So get that off of here. Make sure I'm right on that pivot. I don't know why I don't have my... why don't I have that on there? I have some sort of an error there. Okay, I'll come back to that. All right, I'm just talking about that shadow effect that I use just for the easier pull. So here's the tag of the 50, and here's the pump. So coming out of that, right, do we have, sure looks like you could go 1, 2, 3, maybe 4's in. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Oh, boy, that's tough to get a 1 out of that. 3, 4, 5. So I'm not ready to call that done just yet. So let's come back over here to the C. So this looks fairly solid. 1, 2, maybe 3's in. 4, 5 still coming here, but we're just getting started. So this. Do we have any sort of swing relationship here? Yeah, that's well past the 2618. So you're too far gone here. But you could make that case. 1, A, B, C into the 2, 3 is going in. So we'd be so we don't have enough distance from this to really call that done. So you might just do standard ops, right? So from the 2, let's get right on that. And we don't have this yet. Really, you can't call that done yet. So at some point there's going to be a retrace. We certainly will pay attention to the wave 1, now deep retrace to challenge that. So it looks fairly solid to be going up for this kind of a thing. So the anticipation would be some sort of a little, right, and then we go up and get that. I'd be looking for anything else here that might help me in terms of where we'd be looking for this. So this kind of, it's a Bitcoin to Ripple always looks this way. Right? It's always... I don't like trading it down here on these lower time frames. It's just so hard to make any sense of that. It's almost not worth the time. You're better to just pull back out and say, okay, so there it is, right? So there's my shadow effect. Something was weird with there. So really, what do you do with that? So yeah, you can probably get 3 here into a 4 into a 5, so you can get A, B, C into that. You might have to go 1, 2. No, we got to get 5 out of it. So you could go 1, 2. Oh, Jesus. I see this is what makes this hard here. What is that? So if we go from this 50, boy, we get pretty far here. So you could go 1, 2. That's going to be 3, 4. You got to get the extension in the 5, unless you're doing it here. Well, that's 38. So interesting. You get the algo target here right at the median line. A little reaction, but then looks like they were headed for second target there as well. What do you do with that? Right, so this was the last swing. So, Jesus, 1, 2. Jesus, that's brutal. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you can get there. But anybody's guess how that really breaks down. So, so do you not trade it? Well, so it's certainly technical here if we look off of the bigger swings. So if you're in that, no reason to maintain any additional risk. I'd have your stop just tightened up just right under that. Right? If it comes back down, reconsider the count. This looks like it could just be going through the 1 wave. So if we go back out to that, where was I, at a 3 hour? So if that were going to complete the 1, how are we going to get up there? This is going to have to move over. This is all much higher. So if that's 1, would that make sense? Even just free drawing it. Come here. If this were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's... again, I'm guessing here. So, but I can see something here that wouldn't be so crazy. So that if I'm in the 1, 2, 3, I can see getting up there. the structure would play based on what we've already got here. Now this is overly, you know, we're trying to forecast the future here, but there's a reasonable case to be made here that this pivot, assuming that pivot holds. So first thing, we got to break out of the median lines, and we got to break through the downside 50 that'll be there. So if I just pull this here, right? So we got to get through the golden zone here to get a potentially now we'll break the sell side algos that would be there from this pivot, as that's higher than this pivot, right? I think this swing here has already been invalidated. I don't think they'll be using that. They'll be using this from here. So if we can get through this and then the retrace, now we get another buy side algo working with us. So is there anything else? Well, we could add a set of median lines. So let me pull this off, since the premise is we've got our low here. We've used that to identify it. You know, there's always a little bit of trial and error. You could bring this over here. That's likely too steep, right? So you're not getting enough of it. So through the 1, through the 2, now that looks pretty solid. All right, so that seems a reasonable path to get us there. So that lays out all rather nicely here again. So the first assumption is we got to get a clear, not to be an impulse, but we've got to get a motive wave coming off of this low, right? So we can lean into the idea that we've got our first wave going in. Know the retrace is going to come, right? Where there will be a 2. So you have to consider, if you're in that, is this a potential place to take a partial profit and consider the reload here on the assumption that the count is going to hold, or it's a partial, and if we get the retrace here, it's a place to add to reload here, looking for that move. So this actually lays out rather nicely. So we've got a set of median lines that seem to be holding it here. So right now, so we have a corner pocket, of course, right? So right from the 50, not a golden. So that 80% is as long as that pivot holds, right? So here's first. Second, we don't know when we're going to get there. We just know that if that holds, 80% odds, right? So if it were to get here, we don't want it to get there too fast, because that would maybe distort the count. So we really want the 1 to finish here, get the retrace so that we're teed up for the 3. That's the one you want. And that would be ideal. Sets up the 3 down to the 4, up for the 5. So all of that would be fairly good. Just out of curiosity here, just off of the free draw. If that were the 2, well, here's your 1618. This would be pushing, so that may be too much. But we don't know where the pivot of the 1 is, or the 2. So that's a bit premature to be trying to measure that. But you can see a path to how we could get there. So if you're long, I'd stay long. I'd tighten up the stop to underneath the pivot. The assumption is that pivot is in. I'd rather take the stop. This is me personally. I'd rather take the stop. If I have to redraw, if it comes down again, maybe we get the golden. All right, so all of these, the targets don't change, but the premise of the trade that the 2 is in, right, has to be rethought, right? So is this going to hold? That's what I see here. But if you're long, stay long, right? There's no reason to be ducking out of that and take the small winner. But understand that when that motive wave completes, the anticipation is 50% of it's coming back for the 2. All right, so pretty nice to see that. Again, it would be really surprising, but interesting if Ripple was going to lead us out of the bear. Right, getting ahead of ourselves, but wouldn't that be interesting? All right, guys, that's pretty much all I can add there. So long and strong, so let's stay with it. Okay, guys, talk.